I sat at my mother-in-law's dining table fork, frozen halfway to my mouth as Constance delivered yet another cutting remark about how Anna, my husband's ex-girlfriend, would have made the cranberry sauce from scratch. I'd heard enough. For 3 years, I'd been transferring $1,500 every month to help this woman, and still she treated me like I was nothing. I stood up my chair, scraping against the hardwood floor. You know what, Constance, if Anna's so perfect, then tell her to pay all your bills. I'm done funding your lifestyle. The color drained from her face. What money? We never got a single dollar from you. That's when I realized something was very, very wrong. The silence that followed was deafening. Every person at that table turned to stare at me, then at Constance, then at my husband Derek. I watched Derek's face turn the color of old paste, his eyes darting between his mother and me like a trapped animal looking for escape. What do you mean you never got any money? I asked, my voice shaking, despite my effort to stay calm. I've been sending you $1,500 every single month for 3 years. Constance set down her wine glass with such force I thought it might shatter. Terry, I don't know what you're talking about. I never asked you for money. I've been living off your father-in-law's pension and Social Security, plus my own savings. I'm doing just fine. My hands started trembling. I pulled out my phone, scrolling frantically through my banking app. Derek told me you needed help after his dad passed away. He said you had medical bills, that you were struggling with the mortgage. My mortgage has been paid off for 10 years, Constance said, her voice rising. And I have Medicare. What medical bills? I turned the phone toward her, showing her the transaction history. Month after month after month. $1,500. 36 months. My brain did the math automatically. $54,000. Not the $42,000 I would later learn was the exact amount, but $54,000 had left our account. Constance leaned forward, squinting at the screen. She pointed at the account number. That's not my account. I've never seen that number in my life. Derek suddenly pushed back from the table, his chair screeching. This is ridiculous. You're embarrassing me in front of my family, Terry. We can discuss this at home. Sit down, I said, and something in my voice made him freeze. We're discussing this right now. There's obviously been some kind of mix-up, Derek stammered, his face flushed. Maybe the bank made an error. Maybe the money went to the wrong account. For 3 years, I asked. The same wrong account every single month for 3 years. Derek's sister, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Derek, what's going on? Did you tell Terry that Mom needed money? I was trying to help, Derek said weakly. Things got confused. Where is my money? I asked, my voice low and dangerous. If it didn't go to your mother, where did $54,000 go? Derek wouldn't meet my eyes. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair. I need some air. We'll talk about this later. Derek, answer her question. Constance demanded, standing up. If you've been lying to this girl and taking her money under false pretenses, you tell her right now where it went. But Derek was already heading for the door. I'll be in the car, he muttered, and then he was gone. I stood there in Constance's dining room, my entire body shaking, while Derek's family stared at me with expressions ranging from pity to horror. I had thought I was being a good daughter-in-law, helping my husband's mother through difficult times. Instead, I'd been played for a fool. I'm so sorry, I said to Constance, my voice cracking. I had no idea. He told me you needed help. He said you were too proud to ask directly, so he was handling it for you. Constance's face softened. For the first time since I'd married her son, she looked at me with something other than disdain. That boy has some explaining to do, she said quietly. And Terry, I'm sorry for all the things I said about Anna. I never should have compared you to her. I don't even really know her. Derek always talked her up, made her sound like some kind of saint. That statement lodged in my brain like a splinter. Derek had made his mother think Anna was wonderful. Derek had been lying to both of us. I gathered my purse and coat, apologized again to everyone at the table, and walked out to the car. Derek was sitting in the driver's seat, staring straight ahead. I got in the passenger side and closed the door. "Take me home," I said, "and then you're going to tell me everything." The drive back to our house was silent, except for the sound of my heart pounding in my ears. Derek kept opening his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closing it again. Good. I wanted him scared. When we pulled into our driveway, it was almost midnight. Derek had disappeared after leaving his mother's house, and only came home hours later. I'd been sitting in the dark living room, waiting my mind, racing through every possibility. "Where were you?" I asked as he stumbled through the door. "Driving around. Thinking." His words were slightly slurred. He'd been drinking. "Sit down," I ordered, flipping on the lamp. "We're going to have that conversation now." Derek collapsed onto the couch, running his hands through his hair. "Terry, I can explain." "Then explain. Where did $54,000 of my money go?" "It's not just your money," he said defensively. "We're married. It's our money. I earned it. From my job, from my inheritance. You convinced me to put it in a joint account because you said we were a team. So where did it go?" Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then finally he said, "Some of it went to help Anna." The room tilted. "Anna. Your ex-girlfriend, Anna. She needed help. She had a medical situation. And you didn't think to mention this to me. You lied about your mother needing money so you could secretly fund your ex-girlfriend's medical bills." "You wouldn't have understood," Derek said. "You never liked Anna." "I never met Anna," I shot back. "How could I like or dislike someone I've never met? And even if I had, that doesn't give you the right to steal from me." "I didn't steal, Derek," said his voice rising. "I was helping someone in need." "You're so obsessed with money, Terry. Everything is always about money with you." I stared at him, recognizing the manipulation tactic for what it was. He was trying to turn this around on me, make me the villain for caring about $54,000 disappearing from our account. "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" "Get out of this room. Sleep on the couch. I don't want to look at you right now." Derek started to protest, but something in my expression stopped him. He grabbed a pillow and blanket from the hall closet and shuffled back to the living room. I went into our bedroom and locked the door. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and let myself cry. Not just for the money, though, that was devastating enough, but for the betrayal, for 3 years of lies, for the marriage I thought I had that apparently never existed at all. I barely slept that night. By the time dawn broke through the bedroom window, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to be a victim in this situation. I was going to find out exactly what Derek had done, and then I was going to figure out what to do about it. I called in sick to work, something I almost never did. Then I logged into our joint bank account on my laptop. The $54,000 in monthly transfers was just the beginning. As I dug deeper into our financial records, I found another withdrawal. $12,000 taken from our savings account 3 months ago. Derek had told me he needed it for a work investment opportunity, some kind of partnership deal that would pay dividends. I'd believed him because I wanted to believe him, because I thought we were building a life together. 12,000 plus 54,000. That was $66,000 total. I grabbed a screwdriver from the garage and went to Derek's home office. He had a desk drawer that was always locked, and I'd never questioned it before. Everyone deserves some privacy, I'd thought. Now I used the screwdriver to pry the lock open, not caring if I damaged the wood. Inside, I found a stack of papers. Bank statements for the mystery account addressed to Derek at a post office box I didn't know he had. The statements showed that money was transferred out of that account almost as soon as it was deposited. Most of it went to cash withdrawals and wire transfers to another account. But what really made my blood run cold were the printed emails. Pages and pages of correspondence between Derek and Anna going back years. long before I thought their relationship had ended, long before I thought Derek had chosen me. The emails were intimate, affectionate. They talked about their future together. They made plans to meet for coffee, for lunch, for weekend getaways, when Derek claimed to be at business conferences. I remembered those conferences. I'd packed his suitcase, kissed him goodbye, wished him luck with his presentations, and he'd been with her. One email from 6 months ago caught my attention. Anna was thanking Derek for helping with the medical situation and saying she couldn't do this without him. Another email from 2 months ago had Anna excited about our future plans and finally being together properly. They were planning a life together, a life funded by my money. I took photos of everything with my phone, making sure every page was clearly visible. Then I put the papers back in the drawer, trying to arrange them exactly as I'd found them. I wanted Derek to think his secrets were still safe. It was 2 in the morning when Derek finally came home. I heard his car pull into the driveway, heard him fumbling with his keys at the door. When he walked into the living room, he reeked of alcohol and looked terrible. "We need to talk," I said from my position on the couch. Derek jumped clearly, not expecting me to be awake. "Terry, look, I know you're upset, but can we do this in the morning? I'm exhausted." "No," I said, standing up. "We do this now. I want to know about Anna." Something flickered across Derek's face. Fear, maybe. Or calculation. "What about her? Are you having an affair?" The question hung in the air between us. Derek's mouth opened and closed. He looked like he was weighing his options, trying to figure out how much I knew. "It's complicated," he finally said. "Uncomplicate it." Derek sank into the armchair, his head in his hands. "Okay, yes. Anna and I have been seeing each other, but it's not what you think. You've been sleeping with your ex-girlfriend while married to me. What else could it possibly be?" "We never really broke up," Derek admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "When we decided I should get married for financial stability, she said she'd wait for me." The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did, and I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "You married me for money?" Anna had this plan. She said I should marry someone financially secure, someone who could help support both of us until we were ready to be together publicly. "You had a good job, and your grandmother's inheritance." It made sense. "It made sense," I repeated numbly. "You married me to steal from me." "Not steal. We were going to give you a good life too. You benefited from being married to me." I wanted to laugh, but if I started laughing, I might never stop. "Where did the money go, Derek?" "All $66,000. His head snapped up. "How do you know about the 12,000? "I know everything. I found your emails, your bank statements, all of it. So tell me the truth, or I swear I'll make your life a living hell." Derek's shoulders slumped. Anna needed help. She had medical procedures, she wanted to fix up her house, she bought a new car. She's investing in her future. Our future. With my money. She was going to pay it back once things were settled. Settled how? When you divorced me and took half of everything I owned. Derek flinched but didn't deny it. "The plan was to wait until your grandmother passed and you got your inheritance. Then we'd split everything 50-50 in the divorce, and Anna and I would have enough to start our life together properly." I stared at my husband, this man I'd shared a bed with for 3 years, and realized I'd never known him at all. He wasn't the person I thought I'd married. He was a con artist, a thief, and I'd made it easy for him. "Get out," I said again. "Terry, please let's talk about this. Maybe we could work something out. Maybe we could try opening the marriage so I could be with both of you." The audacity of the suggestion actually made me laugh this time, a bitter, hollow sound. "Get out of this house. Go to a hotel. I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here." "This is my house too," Derek protested. "Then I'll leave. But either way, we're not sleeping under the same roof tonight." Derek must have seen something in my face that scared him, because he nodded and stood up. "I'll go to a hotel. Give you some space. We can talk in a few days when you've calmed down. After he left, I sat in the dark living room and cried until I had no tears left. Then I picked up my phone and started searching for divorce lawyers. The next morning I had an appointment with Patricia Chen. No, wait, I can't use Chen. Let me think of another name. Patricia Morrison. She was highly recommended, known for handling complex financial divorce cases. Patricia listened to my story without interrupting her expression, growing more serious as I showed her the evidence I'd compiled. The bank statements, the emails, the photos I'd taken of everything. "This is financial fraud within a marriage," Patricia said when I finished. "You have grounds for divorce, certainly, but you also have grounds for criminal charges if you want to pursue them. Can I get the money back?" "We can try. It depends on what Anna did with it and what assets Derek has. But Terry, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Derek and Anna aren't going to just hand over $66,000 without a fight." "I don't care," I said, and I meant it. "They stole from me. They used me. I want justice." "Then let's get you justice," Patricia said with a smile. "First things first, we need to freeze all your joint assets so Derek can't take anything else." But we were too late. That afternoon I got a call from my bank. Someone had attempted to wire transfer $32,000 from my personal account, the one that wasn't joint, the one I'd kept separate for emergencies. The transfer had been blocked because it was flagged as suspicious by the bank's fraud detection system, but the attempt had been made. I rushed to the bank with all my documentation. The manager confirmed that the transfer had been initiated using my online banking login. Derek had my passwords. I'd given them to him years ago when I trusted him, when I thought we were partners. We changed all my passwords immediately and put additional security measures on every account, but the damage was clear. Derek had tried to rob me of everything he could grab before I could protect myself. He was desperate, and desperate people were dangerous. The next morning I drove to the bank branch where Derek's mystery account had been opened. I brought my marriage certificate, my identification, and all the documentation showing that the money had come from our joint account. I needed to know exactly where my money had gone. The branch manager, a woman named Susan, looked over my paperwork with a frown. "Normally, I couldn't give you information about an account that's not in your name," she said. "But given these circumstances, and the fact that you can prove the funds originated from your joint account, I'll see what I can do." She disappeared into a back office for what felt like forever. When she returned, she had a printout in her hand and a sympathetic expression on her face. "The account was opened 3 years ago in your husband's name only," Susan explained. "The money was withdrawn primarily through cashier's checks and wire transfers. I can see where most of the wire transfers went." She pointed to a line on the printout. "This account number here, it belongs to an Anna Hartley." There it was. Proof that Derek had been systematically transferring my money to his ex-girlfriend. But the amount surprised me. "The total wire transfers to this account come to $42,000, Susan said. "The remaining $12,000 appears to have been withdrawn as cash over the course of the 3 years. $42,000. That was the exact amount in the title of this nightmare story. "Can I get copies of all of this?" I asked. Susan printed everything out for me, including dates and amounts for each transfer. It was all the evidence I needed. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot staring at the papers and made a decision. I needed to confront Anna face to face. I needed to look her in the eye and hear her try to justify what she'd done. Finding Anna's address wasn't hard. A quick internet search gave me her home address in an upscale neighborhood about 30 minutes away. The kind of neighborhood where the houses had 3-car garages and professionally landscaped yards. The kind of neighborhood you could afford if someone was giving you $42,000 in stolen money. I drove there without letting myself think too hard about what I was doing. If I thought about it, I'd lose my nerve. Anna's house was beautiful, recently renovated by the look of it. New siding, new windows, a freshly paved driveway. All paid for with my money, probably. I parked on the street and walked up to the front door. My hand shook as I rang the doorbell. The woman who answered was stunning. Tall, blonde, perfectly put together, even though it was barely 10 in the morning. She looked at me with cool blue eyes and smiled slightly. "You must be the wife," Anna said. "How did you know?" "Derek has pictures. Plus, I've been expecting you. He told me about your little scene at his mother's house." Anna leaned against the doorframe, completely relaxed. "Did you want to come in? Or are we doing this on the porch?" "I want my money back," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Anna laughed. "It's not your money anymore. It was a gift. Derek gave it to me willingly. Derek stole it from me to give to you. That makes you an accessory to theft." "That's not how the law works, sweetie. If someone gives you money, it's yours. How they got that money isn't my problem." Anna tilted her head, studying me. "You really didn't know, did you? All this time you had no idea that you were just the bankroll." "Just tell me why," I said. "Why me? Why this whole elaborate con?" "Because Derek loves me," Anna said simply. "He always has. But love doesn't pay the bills, does it? We needed someone with money, someone stable and boring who wouldn't ask too many questions. Someone who'd believe that Derek's poor mother needed help with her medical bills." The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. He married me to rob me. "He married you for financial stability," Anna corrected. "The plan was always for you to play your part for a few years, then step aside gracefully. Derek would get half of everything in the divorce, including that inheritance you're supposed to get from your grandmother. We'd have enough to start over together and you'd move on with your life. Everyone wins. Except, I lose everything." "You lose money," Anna said with a shrug. "But you'll survive. You have a good job. You'll rebuild. And the 42,000 you already took from me." Anna pulled out her phone and started scrolling through photos. She turned the screen toward me. Pictures of her and Derek together. Recent pictures from the past few months. Kissing on a beach somewhere. Holding hands at a fancy restaurant. Lying in bed together, his arm around her waist. "We never broke up," Anna said. "Not really. You were always temporary. I was always the end game." The photos proved Derek had been lying about everything. The affair wasn't over. It had never ended. "I used your money for cosmetic procedures," Anna continued cheerfully. "Some dental work, a little Botox breast augmentation. The rest went into home improvements and investments. I have a new car now, too. Derek helped me pick it out. It's a BMW. Want to see it? I want you to pay me back." "That's not going to happen," Anna said flatly. "The money's spent. Gone. And even if it wasn't, why would I give it back? Derek gave it to me. I didn't steal anything from you." "You knew it was stolen." "I knew Derek was married, yes, but married people give each other's money away all the time. How was I supposed to know you didn't approve?" Anna's smile was cruel. "Derek loves me, Terry. He's going to leave you soon anyway. This was always the plan. You were just too stupid to see it." She closed the door in my face. I stood on her porch, shaking with rage and humiliation, and then I walked back to my car. But instead of crying, instead of falling apart, I felt something else crystallize inside me. Determination. I called Patricia from the car. "I want to pursue every legal option we have. Criminal charges, civil suit, everything. I don't care how long it takes or how ugly it gets. I want them to pay." "I was hoping you'd say that," Patricia said. "Come to my office. We have work to do." That afternoon, I learned that Anna had done this before. Patricia had done some digging and found records of another case 5 years ago where a man named Thomas Brennan had divorced his wife after an affair with Anna. Anna had received substantial gifts of money from Thomas during their relationship. His ex-wife had tried to sue for recovery of marital assets, but Anna had somehow avoided any consequences. She was a professional. This was what she did. She found married men with money, convinced them to fund her lifestyle, and moved on when the well ran dry. But this time we have better documentation, Patricia said. Your bank records are impeccable. The paper trail is clear, and Derek admitted to the affair on that recording you made. We can prove fraud. I nodded, feeling a grim satisfaction. What's our next move? We file for divorce and an emergency restraining order. We freeze all joint assets. We file a police report for fraud and identity theft. And then we wait for Derek and Anna to make a mistake. But that night I got a message that Derek and Anna had already made their next move. My car was parked on the street outside my house, and someone had spray-painted "Gold Digger" across the driver's side door in huge red letters. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. They were calling me a gold digger when they were the ones who'd stolen $66,000 from me. I called the police and filed a report for vandalism. I took photos of the damage. I added it to the growing pile of evidence against them. Then I got a phone call that changed everything. It was Constance. "Terry, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice shaking. "I've been going through some old paperwork trying to make sense of what Derek did, and I found something." "What is it?" "Years ago, Derek took out a home equity loan against my house. He forged my signature on the documents. He told the bank I needed money for medical expenses and home repairs. I never saw a penny of that money." My heart sank. "How much was the loan for?" $65,000. I'm still paying it off. If I can't make the payments, I'll lose my house." Derek hadn't just stolen from me. He'd stolen from his own mother. He'd put her home at risk to fund his life with Anna. "We'll figure this out," I told Constance. "I promise. We'll get you help." After I hung up, I sat in my living room and realized just how deep Derek's betrayal went. He'd defrauded multiple people. He'd built an entire fake life on lies and theft. And he'd done it all without remorse, without conscience. Constance called me again the next day. She was crying. "I owe you an apology, Terry. All those terrible things I said about you, comparing you to Anna. Derek told me Anna was wonderful. He made me think you were the problem. I never even met Anna. I was just repeating what he said." "It's not your fault," I said. "He manipulated both of us." "I want to help you take him down," Constance said fiercely. "Whatever you need from me, I'll do it." And just like that, I had an ally. I decided to do something bold. I found Anna's parents' contact information through online records. Her father was a prominent local businessman. I called his office and asked for a meeting, saying I had important information about his daughter. To my surprise, he agreed to see me that afternoon. Gerald Hartley was in his 60s, distinguished-looking with sharp eyes that missed nothing. I sat across from him in his office and laid out everything. The affair, the stolen money, the evidence I had. I showed him the bank records, the emails, everything. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. When I finished, he sat back in his chair and rubbed his temples. "I was afraid of something like this," he said quietly. "You knew?" "Not specifically. But Anna has a history. 5 years ago, she was involved with a married man. It ended badly. His wife divorced him. There was talk of legal action, but it all got settled quietly. We hoped Anna had learned from that experience. Apparently not." "She's a predator," I said. "She's my daughter," Gerald said, "and I love her. But I'm not blind to her faults." He looked at me with something like respect. "What do you want from me, Terry?" "I want justice. I want my money back. I want Derek and Anna to face consequences for what they've done." Gerald nodded slowly. "I'll make you an offer. I'll personally reimburse you the $42,000 that Anna received. In exchange, you agree not to press criminal charges against her. You can still pursue Derek, but you leave Anna out of it." It was tempting. $42,000 just handed back to me. But something about it felt wrong. Why would you do that? I asked. To protect my family name. If this becomes a criminal case, it'll be in the news. My business will suffer. Anna will suffer. I'd rather handle this privately. I thought about it for a long moment. Then I shook my head. No. I appreciate the offer, but Anna needs to face real consequences. If I let her off easy, she'll just do this to someone else. I can't live with that. Gerald studied me for a moment, then nodded. I respect that. But I need to warn you. If you come after Anna, she'll fight back, and she fights dirty. So do I said. That night proved Gerald right. When I got home, my front door was standing open. Someone had broken in. The police came and took a report, but nothing had been stolen. It was just a message, a threat. Derek and Anna were trying to scare me into backing down. They didn't know who they were dealing with. Patricia's office had become my second home. We'd spent hours building a case so airtight that Derek and Anna wouldn't be able to wiggle free. But I needed more than just legal action. I needed Derek to incriminate himself further. What if I could get him to admit more details on record? I asked Patricia. Would that help? Absolutely, but you'd have to be careful. You can't coerce him, and you need to make sure you're in a one-party consent state. We are. I already checked. Patricia smiled. Then do it. But be smart about it. I went home and waited. Derek had been staying at a hotel since our confrontation, but I knew he'd come back eventually. He needed things from the house, and part of him probably still thought he could talk his way out of this. Sure enough, he showed up the next evening with flowers and takeout from my favorite restaurant. Chinese food from the place on 5th Street that made the best dumplings. Can we talk? He asked from the doorway, looking pathetic and hopeful. Come in, I said, my phone already recording in my pocket. Derek set the food on the kitchen counter and turned to me with his most sincere expression. Terry, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I made terrible mistakes. I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. Why did you do it? I asked, keeping my voice soft and hurt rather than angry. I needed him to feel safe enough to tell me the truth. I don't know. I got confused. Anna and I have this history, and when she needed help, I couldn't say no. But it was wrong. I see that now. Help me understand. Where did all the money go? I need to know everything if we're going to fix this. Derek actually seemed relieved that I'd said fix this. He thought he was winning me back. Most of it went to Anna. $42,000. She needed it for investments for getting her life together. And the other money, the $12,000 from our savings, that was for Anna, too. She had some medical procedures done. Cosmetic surgery. She wanted to look her best. Derek ran his hand through his hair. I know how it sounds, but she's been part of my life for so long. I couldn't just cut her off. Are you still seeing her? Derek hesitated. I could see him weighing his options, trying to figure out what answer would serve him best. Finally, he nodded. Yes, I never really stopped. But Terry, it's complicated. I care about both of you. Both of us. I know this is hard to hear, but what if we could make this work? What if we tried opening the marriage? You and Anna could both be part of my life. We could all benefit from each other. The audacity was breathtaking. You want me to share you with the woman you've been stealing from me to support. When you put it like that, it sounds bad. But lots of people have non-traditional relationships these days. We could make it work. I felt sick, but I kept my expression neutral. Tell me about Anna. Why is she so important to you? And Derek, thinking he was seducing me back into his web, told me everything. He told me about their plan, about how they deliberately targeted me because I had money and a good job. He told me about waiting for my grandmother's inheritance. He told me about the timeline they'd set up, how they were supposed to wait another year before Derek filed for divorce. He told me how Constance's dinner confrontation had ruined their plans, forced their hand too early. We weren't ready yet, Derek said, almost sounding annoyed. If Mom hadn't said anything, none of this would have happened. We could have gotten everything and you'd never have known. Everything meaning my inheritance. Half of it. In a divorce, I'd be entitled to half of all marital assets. That includes inheritances received during the marriage. We'd have had hundreds of thousands of dollars, Terry. Enough for me and Anna to start over somewhere nice. You'd have been fine too. How generous, I said dryly. Derek didn't catch the sarcasm. I'm not a bad person. I never wanted to hurt you. But Anna is my soulmate. She's the one I meant to be with. You were always just temporary. Just temporary, I repeated. I mean that in the kindest way possible. You're a good person, Terry. You deserve someone who loves you completely. That person just isn't me. I need some time to think, I said. This is a lot to process. Can you stay at the hotel for a few more days? Derek looked hopeful. Of course. Take all the time you need. I'll wait for you. After he left, I listened to the recording 3 times, making sure everything was clear. Then, I sent it to Patricia. She called me within 10 minutes. This is perfect. He admitted everything. The fraud, the affair, the long-term planning. We have him. What's next? We file for divorce. We file for an emergency restraining order. We file a police report with this new evidence. And we wait for him to make his next mistake. He'll make one, I said grimly. He's already getting desperate. I was right. The next day, I got a notification from my bank. Someone had tried to wire transfer money from my personal account again. $32,000, my entire savings. The attempt was blocked, thank God, because I'd put extra security measures in place. But the attempt had been made. Derek had used my computer passwords, the ones I'd foolishly shared with him years ago, to try to access my accounts. I'd changed the passwords after the first attempt, but he'd somehow figured out the new ones. He must have been watching me type them in, or maybe he'd installed some kind of spyware on my computer. I called the police immediately. This was the final straw. This was attempted theft, pure and simple. But when the detective came to take my report, he had bad news. We can investigate, but computer crimes are tricky. If your husband claims you gave him permission to access the accounts, it becomes a he said, she said situation. I have recordings of him admitting to fraud. That helps, but we need to prove he made this specific transfer attempt. It could take weeks to get the technical evidence from the bank. I don't have weeks, I said. He's trying to rob me blind before the divorce goes through. The detective looked sympathetic. Get a restraining order. Freeze your assets. That's the best protection you have right now. I went to the bank and closed every account Derek had ever had access to. I opened new accounts at a different bank entirely. I changed every password on every device and account I had. I installed security cameras around my house. And then I got a call that made everything worse. It was from a credit card company I didn't recognize. They were calling about the outstanding balance on my account. I don't have an account with you, I said. According to our records, you opened 3 credit cards with us 18 months ago. The balance is currently $28,000. My blood ran cold. I never opened those cards. Someone stole my identity. The representative was sympathetic but firm. The cards had been opened using my social security number, my address, all my personal information. Someone had been making minimum payments for a year and a half, so the fraud had gone undetected. But in the past 3 months, the cards had been maxed out and the payments had stopped. Derek. It had to be Derek. He'd used my information to open credit cards without my knowledge. He'd used them to fund his life with Anna. And now that everything was falling apart, he'd stopped paying them. I filed identity theft reports with the credit card companies and the police, but the damage to my credit score was already done. I'd gone from excellent credit to barely acceptable overnight. I felt like I was drowning. Every time I thought I'd contained the damage, I discovered something new. Some fresh betrayal, some new theft. Patricia filed for an emergency restraining order that afternoon. The judge granted it. Derek was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me and to have no contact except through lawyers. But Derek had already disappeared. He wasn't at the hotel. He wasn't answering his phone. His credit cards showed charges at an airport. Then I saw the social media posts. Derek and Anna lounging on a beach somewhere tropical, drinks in hand, laughing and smiling. The caption read, "Finally free." They'd left the country. They'd used a credit card in my name to book a vacation at a luxury resort in the Caribbean, and they were flaunting it online like they'd done nothing wrong. I stared at the photos, feeling a rage so pure it was almost calming. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd gotten away with it. They had no idea what was coming. The credit card fraud was just the beginning. Over the next week, I discovered the true extent of Derek's theft. He'd been systematically stealing from me for years in ways I never imagined. There were 3 more credit cards I didn't know about, all opened in my name. The total debt was $28,000, all of it spent on luxury items for Anna and expensive trips for the 2 of them. The credit card companies were calling, constantly demanding payment. I filed police reports for identity theft with every single card. I filed disputes. I provided evidence that I hadn't opened the accounts or authorized the charges. But the process was slow and bureaucratic, and in the meantime, my credit score had plummeted. I couldn't even rent an apartment if I'd wanted to move out. My credit was destroyed. Patricia was working on emergency motions to freeze Derek's assets and hold him accountable, but he'd made himself scarce. He and Anna were still in the Caribbean posting vacation photos like they had no cares in the world. Then Constance called me, and I learned things were even worse than I'd thought. "Terry, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice shaking. "I did some more digging into my financial records, and I found something." "What is it?" "That home equity loan Derek took out against my house. It's not the only thing he did. He also forged my signature on a reverse mortgage application. He took out $65,000, using my house as collateral." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. "He stole $65,000 from you." "I never saw any of the money. He must have taken it all. And now I'm responsible for paying it back. The monthly payments are $700. I can't afford that on my pension. If I don't pay, the bank will foreclose on my house." Derek had been defrauding his own mother. While I'd thought I was helping Constance with financial support, Derek had been robbing her blind. "We'll figure this out," I promised. "We'll get you help. There are programs for elder financial abuse." But even as I said it, I felt overwhelmed. How many people had Derek hurt? How many lies had he told? How deep did this go? Constance wasn't done. "There's something else I need to tell you. All those times I said terrible things about you, all those comparisons to Anna. Derek fed me those lines. He told me Anna was perfect, that she was the one who got away. He made me believe you were the problem in your marriage. I never even met Anna. I don't know anything about her except what Derek told me." "He manipulated both of us," I said quietly. "I'm so sorry," Constance said, crying now. "I was cruel to you, and you were trying to help me the whole time. Or you thought you were. It's not your fault. Derek is a professional liar. He fooled everyone." After I hung up with Constance, I made a decision. I needed to talk to Anna's parents again. Gerald had warned me that Anna would fight dirty, and he'd been right. But maybe, just maybe, he'd be willing to help me now that things had escalated. I called Gerald's office and asked for another meeting. Again, he agreed to see me. This time, when I sat across from him, I brought copies of everything. The credit card fraud, the home equity fraud against Constance, the vacation photos Derek and Anna had posted. I laid it all out on his desk. Gerald looked through the papers with a grim expression. Finally, he said, "I knew Anna had problems, but I didn't realize it was this bad." "She's your daughter." You must have some influence over her. You'd think so, wouldn't you? Gerald sighed heavily. I offered to pay you back the $42,000 if you'd drop the charges against Anna. You refused. I respected that decision, even though it made things harder for my family. But maybe it was the right call. What do you mean? Anna needs to face consequences. Real consequences. She's been doing this her whole life, charming her way out of trouble using men for money. My wife and I enabled her. We bailed her out when she got in trouble before. We thought we were protecting her, but we were just teaching her that she could get away with anything. So you'll help me. I'll do more than that, Gerald said. Anna called me this morning from the Caribbean. She wanted more money to extend her vacation. I said no. She threw a tantrum. Said I was a terrible father, that I never supported her. He smiled bitterly. I've decided to cut her off. No more money, no more bailouts. If she wants to fund her lifestyle, she'll have to do it honestly. That's a start, I said. I'll also give you something else. Information. Gerald pulled out his phone and showed me a series of text messages. Anna has been bragging to her friends about the whole scheme. She thinks it's funny. She's been sharing details about how she and Derek played you. I'll forward these to you. Use them however you need to. I drove there without letting myself think too hard about what I was doing. If I thought about it, I'd lose my nerve. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me. I should have done this years ago. Maybe if I had, Anna would be a better person. Gerald stood and extended his hand. Good luck, Terry. I hope you destroy them both. I left his office feeling more determined than ever. I had evidence, I had allies, and I had a plan forming in my mind. But I needed one more piece to fall into place. That piece came when I learned that Derek and Anna were planning a big celebration dinner when they returned from vacation. A mutual acquaintance mentioned it to me casually, not realizing the significance. Derek was going to announce his divorce at a fancy dinner party. He'd invited his family, his friends, Anna's social circle, everyone who mattered to them. He was going to paint himself as the victim of a failed marriage with Anna as his supportive new girlfriend. They were going to make their debut as a couple, rehabilitate Derek's reputation, and move forward with their lives as if nothing had happened. The dinner was scheduled for 2 weeks away. At the most expensive restaurant in the city, Derek had reserved the main dining room. I called Patricia. I have an idea, I said, and it's going to take some coordination. But if we pull it off, Derek and Anna will never see it coming. I'm listening, Patricia said. And I told her my plan. Derek and Anna returned from their Caribbean vacation a week before their scheduled celebration dinner. Derek's lawyer contacted Patricia with a threatening message. Derek was prepared to sue me for emotional abuse, defamation, and harassment. He claimed I'd been stalking him, damaging his reputation, and making his life difficult. The hypocrisy was stunning. He'd stolen from me, defrauded me, destroyed my credit, and now he was threatening to sue me for holding him accountable. Patricia laughed when she read the message. He's bluffing. He has no case. But this tells us he's worried. He knows we have evidence, and he's trying to intimidate you into backing down. It won't work, I said. I know. So let's move forward with your plan. The plan was risky. It required coordination, timing, and a bit of luck. But if it worked, Derek and Anna would be exposed in the most public, humiliating way possible. First, I reached out to Anna's parents. Gerald was on board immediately. He'd already told me he wanted Anna to face consequences, and this would certainly qualify. His wife was more hesitant, but Gerald convinced her that this was necessary for Anna's own good. Next, I contacted several key people and invited them to a private gathering on the same night as Derek and Anna's celebration dinner. At the same restaurant in a private dining area I'd reserved. The guest list included Constance, Anna's parents, Derek's boss and business partners, a local investigative journalist who'd been interested in the story, and Thomas Brennan, the man Anna had scammed 5 years ago. Thomas was eager to participate. He'd lost his marriage and a significant amount of money to Anna's previous scheme, and he wanted to see her held accountable. I also reached out to several mutual friends, people who deserved to know the truth about what Derek had done. Some declined the invitation, not wanting to get involved in drama. But a few accepted, curious about what I had to say. The restaurant manager was a woman named Carolyn, and when I explained the situation to her, she was surprisingly sympathetic. My ex-husband did something similar, she told me. Cleaned out our joint account to fund his affair. I understand what you're going through. I need to use the main screen in the dining room, I said. Just for a few minutes. I have a presentation I need to show. Caroline considered this carefully. Technically, that screen is available to any guest who requests it. And since you're hosting a party here the same night, you're technically a guest with a reservation. I don't see why I couldn't make it available to you. Thank you, I said. Make him regret it, Caroline said with a smile. I spent the next week preparing a comprehensive presentation. Bank records showing every fraudulent transaction. The emails between Derek and Anna planning their scam. Screenshots of Anna's text messages bragging about stealing from me. Credit card statements showing the identity theft. Photos of Derek and Anna on vacation posted while I was dealing with the financial devastation they'd caused. I organized everything chronologically, creating a clear narrative of how Derek and Anna had targeted me, married me for money, systematically stolen from me, and planned to take even more. Patricia helped me refine the presentation, making sure every claim was backed by solid evidence. We wanted this to be undeniable. The night of the dinner arrived. I got dressed carefully, choosing a simple black dress that made me look confident and put together. I wanted to look like someone who had her life under control, not a victim. I arrived at the restaurant early and checked on my private dining area. My guests were already arriving. Constance gave me a hug, her support clear. Gerald and his wife looked solemn but determined. Derek's boss looked confused but intrigued. The journalist was already taking notes. Through the doorway, I could see into the main dining room where Derek and Anna's party was setting up. There were at least 30 people there. Friends, family, colleagues. Derek had really gone all out. Anna arrived in an expensive dress that I suspected she'd bought with my stolen money. She looked radiant, laughing and greeting people like she was hosting a wedding reception. Derek was at her side, playing the devoted boyfriend, telling everyone about his difficult divorce and how Anna had supported him through it. I felt a moment of doubt. What if this went wrong? What if people took Derek's side? What if I humiliated myself instead of him? Then I remembered the bank statements, the lies, the theft, the systematic betrayal over 3 years. Derek and Anna had earned this. Caroline came to find me. They're about to start the toasts, she said quietly. If you're going to do this, now's the time. I took a deep breath, picked up my laptop with the presentation loaded, and walked into the main dining room. Derek saw me first. The color drained from his face. He moved toward me, probably to try to escort me out, but I was faster. "Excuse me, everyone," I said loudly, and the room fell silent. "I'm sorry to interrupt your celebration, but I have something important to share." "Terry, what are you doing?" Derek asked, his voice strained. "This is a private event." "I'm also a guest of this restaurant tonight," I said calmly. "And I've reserved the use of this screen for a brief presentation. It won't take long." Caroline was already connecting my laptop to the main screen. Derek tried to stop her, but she simply said, "The guest has permission from the owner to use the facilities. I can't interfere." Anna stood up, her eyes flashing with anger. "This is harassment. We could call the police." "Please do," I said. "I've already filed multiple police reports about you both. I'm sure they'd be interested in talking to you." The screen lit up behind me. The first slide appeared, the real story of Derek and Anna. Derek tried one more time. "Terry, please. Let's talk about this privately. You're making a scene." "Good," I said. "I want people to see who you really are." And I began the presentation. The room was absolutely silent as I clicked through the slides. I narrated each one calmly and clearly, letting the evidence speak for itself. "This is our joint bank account," I said, showing the first bank statement. "For 3 years, my husband Derek transferred $1,500 every month to a mystery account. He told me it was to help his mother with medical bills. That was a lie. His mother never received any of that money." I showed the account statements proving the money had gone to Derek's personal account, then been transferred to Anna. In total, Derek transferred $42,000 of my earnings to Anna Hartley, his ex-girlfriend who he claimed to have broken up with before we married. That was also a lie. Derek and Anna never broke up. They planned for Derek to marry someone financially stable so he could use their money to support Anna while they waited for the right time to divorce and split the assets. I showed the emails, the intimate messages, the planning discussions, Anna's text messages calling me the ATM, and laughing about how easy it was to fool me. People in the room were starting to murmur. I saw Derek's sister cover her mouth in shock. His business partner looked disgusted. Derek also stole $12,000 from our savings account, claiming it was for a work investment. He used that money to pay for Anna's cosmetic procedures. I showed the credit card statements next. Derek opened 3 credit cards in my name, without my knowledge or permission. He charged $28,000 to those cards, buying luxury items for Anna and funding their vacations. This is identity theft. I have filed police reports. The photos of Derek and Anna in the Caribbean appeared on screen. This vacation was paid for with a credit card fraudulently opened in my name. They posted these photos publicly while I was dealing with the financial devastation they'd caused. Anna stood up abruptly. "This is defamation. You're twisting everything to make us look bad." "I'm showing facts," I said calmly. "Bank records don't lie. Would you like to explain to everyone why you received $42,000 from my husband while he was married to me?" Anna opened her mouth, then closed it. She grabbed her purse and tried to head for the exit, but her father was standing there, blocking her way. "Sit down," Anna Gerald said quietly. "You need to hear this." I continued. Derek also defrauded his own mother. He forged her signature to take out a home equity loan against her house, stealing $65,000 from her. His mother is now at risk of losing her home because of his theft. Constance stood up in my private dining area, visible through the doorway. "It's true," she called out. "My son stole from me and lied to everyone about it." Derek's face was ashen. He looked around the room, desperately trying to find someone, anyone who might take his side. But everyone was staring at the screen at the evidence I was presenting. I showed the recording device icon. I have a recording of Derek admitting to all of this. He confirmed the affair, confirmed giving Anna $42,000, confirmed that they planned to wait for my grandmother's inheritance before divorcing me so he could take half of everything I owned. He actually suggested we have an open marriage so he could be with both of us. A few people in the crowd gasped. Derek's boss shook his head in disgust. Derek and Anna targeted me specifically because I had money and a stable job. This wasn't a crime of passion or a mistake. This was a calculated long-term fraud scheme. And I'm not the first person Anna has done this to. I nodded to Thomas Brennan, who stood up from my group. "My name is Thomas Brennan. 5 years ago, Anna Hartley had an affair with me while I was married. She convinced me to give her substantial amounts of money, claiming she needed it for various emergencies. My wife divorced me when she found out about the affair. Anna disappeared with the money. This is her pattern. She targets married men with resources and bleeds them dry." The room erupted in whispers and shocked conversations. Anna was still standing, her face red with anger and humiliation. "You can't prove any of that," she hissed at me. "Actually, I can," I said. I displayed Anna's text messages on the screen, the ones where she bragged to her friends about the scam. "These are your words, Anna. You called me the ATM. You laughed about how stupid I was. You detailed exactly how much money you stole and what you spent it on. Anna's mother started crying. Gerald put his arm around her but didn't try to defend his daughter. Derek finally found his voice. You're making this into something it's not. Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I helped Anna financially, but you're acting like I'm some kind of criminal. You are a criminal, I said simply. You committed fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. The police have all of this evidence. Charges are being filed. Derek's boss stood up. Derek, effective immediately, you're terminated. We can't have someone with this kind of moral character representing our company. One of Derek's business partners spoke up next. We're dissolving our partnership. I want nothing to do with you. The journalist was taking photos and scribbling notes furiously. This was going to be a story just like I'd planned. Friends and family members were starting to leave, many shooting disgusted looks at Derek and Anna as they went. The celebration they'd planned had turned into their public execution. And then Anna did something I didn't expect. She turned on Derek, her voice shrill and vicious. This is your fault. You were supposed to be smarter than this. You got caught because you're stupid and sloppy. Me, Derek shot back. You're the one who kept demanding more money. You're the one who couldn't keep your mouth shut, bragging to your friends. They started screaming at each other in the middle of the restaurant, all pretense of being the perfect couple shattered. They blamed each other, each one trying to paint the other as the primary villain. Security arrived and escorted them out separately, still yelling. Through the window, I could see them on the sidewalk, Derek pointing and shouting while Anna cried angry tears. The remaining guests filed out quietly, many of them stopping to apologize to me or offer their support. Derek's sister hugged me and said she was sorry that she'd had no idea what her brother was really like. When the room was mostly empty, my own group came out of the private dining area. Constance hugged me tightly. You did it, she said. You exposed them. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have done this alone. Patricia, who'd been watching from the back of the room, came forward with a satisfied smile. That was perfect. I got video of the whole thing. This will be very useful in court. Over the next few weeks, the legal process played out exactly as Patricia had predicted. Derek was charged with fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. Faced with overwhelming evidence and the public humiliation of the restaurant confrontation, he accepted a plea deal. He had to pay full restitution to both me and his mother, serve 3 years of probation, and complete 500 hours of community service. Anna was charged as an accessory to fraud and with receiving stolen property. She also took a plea deal to avoid jail time, agreeing to pay back $20,000 of the $42,000 she'd received and to serve probation. Gerald, true to his word, paid me the remaining $22,000 to make me whole. He didn't have to do that, but he said it was the right thing to do. Anna is my daughter, and I love her, he told me. But she needs to learn that actions have consequences. I hope this is finally the lesson that sticks. The divorce was finalized quickly. Derek got nothing. The prenuptial agreement I'd insisted on before we married turned out to be my salvation. Since Derek had committed fraud within the marriage, all his claims to marital assets were voided. The house was mine, my retirement accounts were mine, everything was mine. The credit card companies agreed to clear the fraudulent debts from my record once I provided them with the court documents and police reports. It took time, but my credit score slowly recovered. Constance's house was saved. With Derek's restitution payments and some help from a legal aid organization that specialized in elder financial abuse, she was able to settle the fraudulent home equity loan and keep her home. Through all of this, Constance and I grew close. She became the mother-in-law I'd always wanted, supportive and kind and genuinely interested in my life. We had dinner together once a week, and she helped me process everything that had happened. I'm sorry I ever compared you to Anna, she said one evening over coffee. I was fooled by my own son. I should have been more discerning. We both trusted him, I said. That's not a character flaw. Derek is just a very good liar. 6 months after the restaurant confrontation, I was in a completely different place. I'd started my own consulting business using the skills and experience I'd gained from years in my industry. Without the financial drain of Derek's theft, I was able to invest in myself and my future. I was in therapy working through the betrayal and learning to trust again. My therapist helped me understand that what happened wasn't my fault, that being trusting and loving wasn't a weakness. I even started dating again carefully and slowly. I was more cautious now, more aware of red flags. But I wasn't going to let Derek's betrayal make me bitter or closed off from love. One Saturday afternoon, I ran into Anna at the grocery store. She looked different, diminished. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. Her clothes weren't designer labels. She looked like someone who'd lost everything and was trying to rebuild. When she saw me, she froze. For a moment, I thought she might run. Instead, she approached me hesitantly. "Terry," she said quietly, "I owe you an apology. What I did was wrong. I was greedy and selfish and cruel. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry." I looked at her for a long moment, trying to gauge whether the apology was sincere. I decided it didn't really matter. Whether she meant it or not, it didn't change what had happened or how I'd moved forward. "I hope you learned something," I said simply. Then I pushed my cart past her and continued shopping. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no lingering pain, just a peaceful indifference. Anna was part of my past now, and my past no longer had power over me. A month later, I was having dinner with Constance and a few close friends who'd supported me through everything. We were celebrating the anniversary of my new business, which was thriving beyond my expectations. Someone asked me if I regretted marrying Derek. I thought about it carefully. "I regret trusting him," I said finally. "I regret not seeing the red flags earlier. But I don't regret learning how strong I am. Derek took money from me, a lot of money. But in doing so, he showed me that I'm capable of fighting back, of standing up for myself, of surviving betrayal, and coming out stronger on the other side. He took money, but I took back my power. And that's worth more than anything he could have stolen." Constance raised her glass. "To Terry," she said, her voice full of pride, "who taught us all what real strength looks like." Everyone clinked glasses and toasted. I smiled, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in years. I'd been broken down, stolen from, betrayed by the person I trusted most. But I'd survived. More than survived, I'd thrived. I'd built a new life on my own terms, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me. Derek and Anna had tried to destroy me. Instead, they'd inadvertently set me free. The best revenge I'd learned wasn't elaborate exposure or public humiliation, although those things had their place. The best revenge was living well. The best revenge was refusing to let their betrayal define me or limit my future. I'd lost $66,000. But I'd gained something far more valuable: the knowledge that I could handle anything life threw at me, that I was stronger, smarter, and more resilient than I'd ever known. Derek and Anna were facing the consequences of their actions legally and personally. But more importantly, I was free of them. Free to build the life I deserved, surrounded by people who valued honesty and integrity. As I sat there with my friends, laughing and sharing stories, I realized something profound. The woman who'd sat at Constance's dinner table 3 years ago, absorbing insults and sending money to a mother-in-law who didn't need it, was gone. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, and unshakable. Derek had taken my money, but he'd inadvertently given me something priceless: the gift of knowing my own strength. And that was a trade I'd make every time. I want to ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they weren't who you thought they were? How did you handle the betrayal? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you overcame your own challenges. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like. It helps others who might be going through something similar find this message and know they're not alone. And if you want to hear more stories about resilience, justice, and overcoming adversity, please subscribe to this channel. There are so many stories of people who've faced impossible situations and found the strength to fight back. Finally, if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's dealing with betrayal or financial abuse, please share this story with them. Sometimes just knowing that someone else survived can give us the courage to take that first step toward justice. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that no matter how dark things seem, there's always a way forward. Trust yourself, protect yourself, and never underestimate your own strength. Take care of yourselves, and remember you're stronger than you know.